Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Horse's Mouth Live, the Extraordinary Advisor Show. My name is Ellen Rogin, and as always, I have guests to help you in every area of your life, especially your business. And we have one of my favorite topics today. We're talking about mindfulness and how to be the future of financial advice. And our guest today, our expert, who I'll give you her formal introduction in a moment, Dr. Mary Martin, I found through being on someone's mailing list. Actually, I think it was Mindful Magazine's mailing list. She was doing a workshop for financial advisors, and I'm like, how interesting that she has a specialty in this area. And I sought her out on LinkedIn, and she agreed to be on our show today. And I'm really excited about this topic, especially now, given what's happening in the industry, what's been happening in terms of competition and how we could be even more connected with our clients, but also given the market turmoil that's been happening and how us being more present and more aware of ourselves can help in every area of our lives, including our business. So let me give you a little bit about Mary's background before we welcome her and hear all her wisdom that she has with us for us today. So Mary Martin is a trauma-sensitive mindfulness instructor and guide. She works with individuals and groups about mindfulness and all the benefits that it has, and she also guides them in developing their own practice. She's got an incredible background as a certified trauma-sensitive mindfulness teacher trained by Brown University and mindfulness schools. She's trained as she is a trained futures thinker and has her doctorate. She's a little shy about calling herself a doctor, but she has her doctorate from NYU, New York University School of Cultural Education and Human Development. She's got a book coming out soon about mindfulness for financial advisors, practicing a new way of being. And is that the right title of your book, Mary?
That is.
Perfect. So welcome. I'm so excited that you're here with us today, and thank you for accepting the invitation to be here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you gave us a title for today's show, which is The Future of Financial Advice, Human and Humane. And it took me a second when I was looking at that to see if there was a typo there. But let's talk a bit about this idea of humane and why you think it's part of the future of financial advice.
Sure. Well, you may have seen, you said you saw at least part of The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and the Center for Humane Technology was featured in that. And what they do is they have researched what has happened to our behavior and our brains and our relationships and our social environment due to social media and the internet. And they have pretty much discovered that unless a product is intentionally designed for human beings and for the way we relate, the way we connect, the way we make sense of things, the way we make decisions, we could very well end up in a situation like the one we're in right now, with a mental health epidemic and with extremely unhealthy relationships to social media. Now, what I do is I look at that and I look at the relationship of financial advisors and their clients. And I look at the financial advisor as kind of like the customer experience, like the interface, right, for the client. And if that customer experience isn't taking into account how human beings make decisions, our emotional lives, how we connect, how we make sense of things, they're going to end up, those clients are going to end up in a position that's less healthy than they could. So financial advisors could actually contribute to the flourishing of their clients. And so this idea of humane is the refinement. It's not just human to human, but it is adding to the well-being and the flourishing of the client. So it's not just human. There's a lot of talk about human, and this takes it one step further, designing your experience, your client experience, designing yourself as the interface in a way that's healthy for your clients.
I love that. And I'm thinking back when I had my practice and I started many years ago, getting my CFP and building my practice. And there was none of this conversation. There was a little teeny part of the CFP exam back a long time ago that was like on psychology. It was this big. And I love that there's a discussion about this now.
Mm-hmm.
So how does mindfulness fit into all this? And what does it actually mean? I feel like there's a lot of confusion about that term. Is it a practice? Is it a kind of meditation? Is it a thing what is it? That would be helpful for you to help us understand that a little bit more, Mary.
Okay, well, thank you. And first of all, yes, back in the day, I actually used to write study materials and mock exams for the CFP exam for a study company. And I think it was 8%, it was either 8% or 11% of the questions at the time had anything to do with like the fact that there were humans involved. And now, as of March of this year, there's that whole investor psychology. So we went from there's all technical to technical and some personal, meaning investor psychology. But this takes it one step further because this is the advisor and the advisor's way of being and how the advisor relates to the investor. So we spend all of this time and money trying to figure out the investor, but like where's the time and money trying to figure out the financial advisor? Because the financial advisor is half of that conversation. So mindfulness, as you correctly say, can be so many things. And I'm always very clear to say that this is the mindfulness I teach. So it is because it is being aware in the present moment of what your experience is, non-judgmentally. Okay? And that's the basic definition from John Kabat-Zinn from way back in 1979. And his initiative was to shift, as he would say, shift the bell curve of humanity toward greater health, well-being, and wellness. So that was the intention. It wasn't like the word relaxation is not in there. The word calm is not in there. It was initially about improving well-being by decreasing stress and anxiety. So that's how it started. And so I take that definition. It was not originally trauma sensitive much, and it has kind of evolved with the times. And I am certified trauma sensitive, so we have that element as well. And what it is training human beings of all ages and stages to really put out the welcome mat for the entire range of their human experience. And I mention this because I see a lot of mindfulness explained as, oh, when you become uncomfortable, you do this, like you pivot. So you don't want to be uncomfortable, so you do this. Or your mind is racing and you want to clear your mind. And this is not about clearing your mind. It's not about not thinking. It's not about, again, relaxation or being calm. And it's not about pivoting. It is about getting to know what your experience is from moment to moment and being okay with it and accepting it and not judging it.
Wow, I have like so many things going on in terms of where I want to go next with this. But I just want to touch on the trauma sensitive part, because some of the people out there might be thinking, oh, that's when you've had this like awful, terrible, your house burnt down or you're abused, and some of it is that. But can trauma also be like, oh my gosh, you went through 2008, you thought your business was going to implode and you didn't know what to do, or you're dealing maybe for the first time with market volatility now and it feels so extreme. Can you maybe just touch on that definition a little bit, or how that sensitivity might come into the work that you teach on?
And you're absolutely correct about that. And of course, that's piggybacked on a pandemic that we're still not out of. And some people, it depends on who you talk to, some people say the whole planet has been traumatized. And it depends. I mean, yes, and certainly the markets can be like this. It can be traumatizing. So it can be, as you say, an event that's traumatic, and it can also be a series of events where you don't have time to rest and relax and recover in between them. So they just keep building and building and building. Now, with that said, the foremost, we can debate about the foremost, but George Bonanno, who's at the Columbia University Center for Trauma and Emotions and something else, he talks about PTEs, and PTE is potentially traumatic events. And all of his research has demonstrated that most people, in fact, are resilient. And an event is only traumatic until you decide that it has been traumatic, and you have labeled it traumatic. So there's this moment, as you know, where something happens. It could be anything, and there's this teeny little moment of appraisal. There's this moment of where you decide what the meaning of that moment is, and then what comes after is contingent upon what you have decided. And if you have decided that that was traumatic, guess what is going to happen? You are going to be in trauma. So there's a lot that we could do to sort of catch our tendency to go over the edge into trauma or even negativity, or, oh, this is a disaster. It doesn't have to be trauma. Point being is we get all of these cues from our environments, and our brain every time will take the path of least resistance. And if your tendency is to see everything as profoundly traumatic, you're going to do that. Unless you, A, notice that you have that tendency, and B, decide to create a new habit where you don't do that. So I'm not really of the mind where trauma is for good and it's all over all the time.
That's so interesting. So I want to come back to this idea, some of these principles of human design. And just as we're leading into this, I just love that you're saying, like, there's all this focus on how do we serve the clients, but like, how do we be in the relationship? I think is such a important distinction that we have. What are some of the principles of human design, and how can an advisor use those ideas to help their clients flourish and help them flourish?
Well, I think that the first one is self-awareness. And really, if you're not aware of how your body is reacting to just the thought of somebody, we all have somebody who pushes our buttons. If somebody mentions their name, something happens inside of us, right? And if we're not aware of that, if we're not checking our systems for noise, like, are we over caffeinated? Are we tired? Are we in pain? Are we distracted? Is this person somebody who we have some biases about, and we are sure that we know them and we know how they're going to respond, and certainty is a form of noise. So we have to check ourselves even before we walk in the door or get on the Zoom or get on the phone for what is present in me that could potentially be messing up this whole situation, and that will also prevent me from seeing and hearing what is really in front of me. So you can really be so sure about somebody that they can present something different in front of you and you don't see it because you're so sure of who they are and who they're going to be. So if you don't learn to first check in on yourself and with yourself, kind of nothing else matters. And that's where we begin. We begin with, what am I doing? Who am I showing up as? What is affecting my ability to listen, to respond in a compassionate way, to make good decisions, and that to stick to my agenda. Advisors have the agenda and they want to go in and they want to do the agenda. But if you're paying attention to yourself and you're really paying attention to the human being, the human nervous system that's in front of you, you may find that there's something far more important than your agenda in the moment. But you don't see it if you're not trained to look for it.
That makes so much sense. And how do you see, like, if an advisor's distracted, they're worrying about their own stuff, or they're thinking about what they're going to say next, or they're on their agenda, or they're just in their own angst about whatever it is, how does that actually impact the client, whether it's their nervous system, or how do yes, that's
Okay.
I know you know what I mean.
I do. So we are mammals. We're social animals. And unlike, crocodiles, we have actually evolved to help and heal each other. So that's part of who we are. Our nervous systems help and heal each other. And in order for you to have a nervous system that's capable of being an invitation to other nervous systems, like, come here, I have resources, I have like stuff that you want, that's going to make you feel good. In order to do that, you have to first know what your nervous system is doing. You have to have the awareness, and you have to have the ability to be able to shift your inner experience once you discover that, oh, like, I'm off. So you could be sitting there and somebody is, say, really upset in front of you, and you actually notice, and you would have to, you notice that, wow, I'm off. All I'm thinking about is what I'm going to say, and oh my gosh, I just realized there's a person in front of me crying. So there are things that you learn how to do for yourself where you can pretty much within a space of 30 seconds regulate your nervous system so that it can be a resource for the other person. You want to be a resource. We've all had a situation where we're, sitting at home or sitting in the office, and somebody comes pounding into the room and smashes the light on and is all kinds of dysregulated and upset, and you can feel that that other person is like that. Well, I have news for you. Your clients can feel when you are like that too. So you want to be as regulated as possible, because then they don't even know this. They might know it. But then their nervous system reaches out to you and can be resourced by you. But not if you don't realize it, and not if you're not available to them, and not if you're not regulated. And then they could leave the room satisfied or not satisfied with whatever happened. They probably won't attach what happened to how you are. They might. But I'm sure you've seen that research recently that says that financial planners think that they see their stress and anxiety in their clients, and their clients say no. And financial planners say that they're listening and they hear everything, and clients say not so much. So there's clearly this gap between what advisors think and what clients think. And so they're paying attention. They're paying attention to how they feel when they leave the office. And you can do something about how they feel when they're in the office and when they leave the office. And human to human, what you can do is you can actually help them get through whatever it is they're getting through, just by listening, by being regulated, by yourself being a calming, grounding presence, and you don't even have to say a word.
So is there a mini practice or something? I know you teach, and we talked before the show started how this isn't like a one and done, or you can do this one thing and like, okay, now I'm aware and present and mindful all the time. And so it is a practice, and it's a learning. Is there just although a small micro practice or something that you can suggest to someone to help be a little bit more present, or I love this, to help and heal people? Is there some small thing that we might be able to remember to do in that moment?
Sure. Do you want to do something right now?
Sure.
Okay. And we talked about trauma sensitive before, and I want to touch on that again, because back in the day, mindfulness, I had said it wasn't trauma sensitive, and there are two things that are important in this area. And one is that we used to say, close your eyes and blah, 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 blah. And for many people who have experienced trauma, closing their eyes does not make them feel safe. It activates their fear and traumatic response. So they get very upset. And mindfulness is not about enduring a situation where you're feeling a past trauma present in your body because somebody told you to close your eyes. So we don't say close your eyes, and we also don't focus on the breath because the breath is not a safe place for a lot of people. People with COVID, easiest example, people with COVID do not want to focus on their breath. Like they're kind of done with that, and they want to actually think about something else and focus on something else. So we don't do the breath and we don't do the eyes closed thing. We do, however, very briefly do a short exercise where people close their eyes, and if they begin to feel activated, they know that maybe they shouldn't in the future. However, just because it happens once doesn't mean it's going to happen the next time, but we're just aware of it. And the same goes true with the breath. There are wonderful ways that you can breathe that are very regulating for your nervous system, but if paying attention to your breath freaks you out, you don't want to do that. So right now, Ellen, eyes open or closed, and if they're open, I have them sort of downcast and softly gazing at a stationary spot. And just bringing attention to the settling of the body. Have an intention in whatever posture you're in this moment to settle your body, whatever that means for you. And bringing your attention to your feet, where they contact the floor, to the sensations of pressure and contact. Maybe you have sensations related to gravity or circulation, depending on what your posture is. And you're not thinking about your feet, you're experiencing the sensations of your feet. So you're not like narrating, my feet are like this, like feeling the feet. And we use the feet because the feet don't have feelings and they don't have thoughts. So seeing in your experience right now, where can you find something that speaks to stability? And maybe it's your feet. Maybe it's your bum on the seat. Maybe it's your hands. Find something in your experience right now that is stable and grounded. And sort of rest in that stability for a moment. And check in on the quality of the mind. And no judgment. Is it racing? Is it dull? Is it tired? Just what does it feel like? What is it when you sense it? What does it feel like? So being aware. You're aware of your feet on the floor. You're aware that there's something in your experience that's stable, and you're aware of the quality of your mind. And slowly opening your eyes if they were closed. And so what's here for you, Ellen?
A settling down. Like it wasn't a snow globe where I was like crazy before, but it feels definitely more grounded and centered, and more present.
How was your mind? And this wasn't like, oh, we were supposed to clear your mind. What did you notice in your mind?
That it was, I noticed that it was, I'm trying to think of the right adjective, not racing, not dull, but just, it was how it felt alert, awake, and calm. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that experience is just noticing. We weren't really going for anything at the start. It was, it was kind of that intention to settle. But the feet are stabilizing and grounding for a lot of people. And if you had done that, and it was like, oh, when I concentrate on my feet, I get really upset. You learn something for next time. So we have these little practices that we do during class. If I say something about a practice, somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying, we immediately do it on the spot because I want them to feel what it is that I'm talking about and have their own experience of it. So we have all these short and really long, but short experiences designed to just check in on what it is like inside me right now, and am I in the position to do whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing? You know, am I going into a really important meeting and I checked in on my mind and it is all over the place? Well, then you would have learned something that you could do to calm that and some strategies for focusing. But if you don't first check in on yourself and notice where you're at and kind of what you're up against, then you're flying blind once you walk in the door.
Yeah.
So a lot of the practices are like to prepare you.
And you'd be missing out on that opportunity to help and heal somebody. And what I love about that, and one of the things that I know is that when you are creating a situation where clients feel better about themselves after having been in your presence, even if they don't know why, it's not like you're necessarily, it could be that you're boosting them up with what you say, but if they feel better, they're going to want to be around you more. They're going to refer your friends more. They're going to feel more confident in your advice. And so those are really a beautiful notice and tools to make that happen.
Yeah, they don't necessarily know why. They just know they feel good.
So, Mary, I know I have like a million things I could ask you now. We just have a couple minutes left. If there's one other thing you want to make sure we cover today that advisors know that will help them in their relationships with their clients and being more humane, what would you want to share with us?
I would say self-care and self-compassion are not selfish. And it's the put your oxygen mask on first thing. You need to take care of yourselves, particularly because financial advisors are on the front lines of the stress and distress epidemic in America. And you need to be there. You need to be okay with yourself so that you can be there for other people. So self-care, taking that walk outside when you need it, working out, sleeping well, doing what you need to do for yourself to be healthy in mind and in body for those around you. It's not selfish.
Yeah. And for those advisors that are like, yeah, I will when things come down, like this is a smart business strategy. And Mary knows she's married to a CFP. She's been around this industry for years. So this isn't just like, oh, you'll feel better, you'll make things come. This is crucial for you doing, serving your clients, doing great business and business going forward. A robo-advisor cannot do this. Like this right. is crucial.
Yes, no matter how good they get 10 years from now, and they're going to get so much better. If there are still financial advisors, human financial advisors in 10 years, it'll be because they know how to do this. Yeah. It'll be because they have the humane design of themselves down.
Beautiful. So I know you lead courses. You have one that's in the process now, but you'll have other ones. You have a book coming out that's available for pre-order. If people want to find out more about you, Mary, where should they go?
Just www.marymartinphd.com, and all of my classes are there. I have tons of free resources. I have a weekly newsletter. I blog weekly. I read a lot. I watch a lot of films. I have a lot of resources that have nothing to do with financial services, but to me, they're connected. To me, it's all connected. So if you're interested, come on over to marymartinphd.com.
Good. And go over and pre-order her book. Be awesome. We just put up the link there. I'm assuming we can do that. You can go to your website. You could do it on Amazon. I'm assuming you can pre-order it there. Maybe that's where it takes them.
It's actually on my website now for free shipping because I will ship it for free. Amazon won't do that.
Do that. Okay.
Yeah. And there are free guided meditations. There's a whole page of them on the website, anywhere from 2 minutes to 45 minutes.
And for all of you, I know there are many advisor authors or would-be advisor authors. This is also, besides it's great for you, it is a generous thing to do for an author out there because it helps in so many ways, as is giving reviews on books and things. So go do a salad for Mary and you'll be helping yourself as well. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, listening in, whether you're watching us live as this is happening or listening to the recording. I am so grateful that you're here. My name is Ellen Rogin. You can find out more about me at ellenrogin.com. And if you go to ellenrogin.com/horse's mouth, you can download my special report, What Extraordinary Advisors Know That Others Don't. And my teachings, my classes are all very much aligned with everything we've talked about today. And be in touch. We're both, Mary's on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, so connect with us. And the question to ponder today is, how are you going to help and heal your clients? I just love that. I haven't heard that before, that's how can we make our clients flourish more? And remember, be great and create great every single day.